Oh my God. So this just happened like 1 minute ago.
Future Woody here. So this is how it goes. The first part of the video, I'm going to tell the story, let you know what happened. In the second half of the video, we're going to do some analysis, some lessons learned, talk about where we go from here.
I thought I'd record while the feeling was fresh. I am 100% okay. It wasn't even that hard a landing. But I was trying a helico, something I've tried about, I don't know, maybe 75 times before. And the reason I thought it'd be okay on a motor is, like, even if I have a bad helico, it seems to go okay. I find tail slide and it's all cool. But I don't know, maybe it's the extra inertia on the motor, but I didn't keep up with the spin of the heli. So I found myself in a riser twist. Now I've had like a half riser twist, I don't know, 15 times, like 10 times. It's not that big of a deal. But if you imagine yourself on a swing, like a playground swing, and like the first half twist is really hard to accomplish, then after that, twirl, 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 easy. And that's kind of what happened. And it was like spiraling, and the twist was getting worse. But I was way up high, like 3,500 feet, which is pretty high, when I started this move. And I was like, I've got some time to sort this out. I can fix it, I can fix it. And I really didn't want to throw the reserve, which probably is the wrong mindset. But I worked at it and tried to get it untwisted. And I'm like, it's getting worse, not better. And I don't know how many twists I got up to, but you might call it 7. And at one point, it started rotating fast. And like now my wing's not flying, I'm kind of spiraled down, nose down. So I was like, heck with this. I'm throwing the beamer. So I take my right hand reserve and I take it, and I did a good toss. I wish I had it on camera, but I've seen so many tosses, and I did once in a SIV course, thanks Gabe. And so I pulled it, got a grip on it, and tossed it out wide. And it got tangled in the risers. And I'm like, oh boy, if I throw this other reserve, I'll have no more reserves. But it still seemed like a good idea. So I took my square, which was an Independence Ultra Cross, I think, something like that, Ultra Cross for sure. And I left-handed, get it free, toss it far. And I didn't actually get a visual on what happened, but all of a sudden, whoop, it pulled me. And then I knew that, well, then I didn't know. I had traded one problem for another. When I threw a reserve in training, I actually hit the water really hard. So I was nervous about how rough a ride it would be. And I saw myself coming to the ground, and you can only estimate it so well. And I was like, I think this is going to be all right. And as I got real close, I was like, I might even try to nail this, like stay on my feet. Well, that wasn't meant to be. I kind of hit feet and then cage, and then I found myself laying on my back on the prop. And I'm like, that wasn't bad. That was okay. So one, I'm really glad I had 2 reserves. If you're gonna make questionable decisions, you gotta have 2 reserves. And 2, I guess I'm just glad I'm okay. Here are wing, beamer, which I don't know, I don't think it worked for me. Maybe it worked after the other one did. And then Ultra Cross, which that was the one that got me out of a jam. I gotta pack up. These super nice women saw me go down and offered to give me a ride to the side of the road. So I'm super grateful about that. All right, they did offer to let me sit in the truck, but I was just happy holding all my stuff down. So we're headed back to the house. It's about a 17-minute ride. Here we go.
It's me again. So now we're on the analysis part of what went wrong. This is actually the same flight. This is the wing I was on. It's an Air G Sophie 23 meter, biggest one they sell. And I had taken this wing to the lake and done SIV type stuff with it before. and it went well. And I did helis on it, and it went, as well as my helis go. So with that confidence and liking this wing so much, I took it up on the motor. And here you see me practicing full stalls just to get a vibe for how she behaves on the motor with that extra weight, how things go. Sadly, the battery in my GoPro was weak. Silly GoPro batteries are not good unless you literally take them off the charger at the start of your flight. So you'll see I'm about to mess around with a SAT or something like that, just getting a vibe for it. And the battery will cut out. It'll die in a moment. There it goes. This is actually it. This is the run where I'm sort of setting up my helico, or my heli, whatever you want to call it. And it'll just cut out. I wish I had the footage to show you, but I'm sort of approaching minimum velocity, getting ready, and that's it. That's where the camera died. Very unfortunate. But not all is lost, because the next weekend I did the same thing. This time I'm over the water, double reserves, chase boat, the whole 9 yards in terms of safety. I'm trying to move on the wing again, and I foul it up in nearly the exact same way. Whoa, the wing dies, riser twists. Again? But this time I find tail slide and I fly out of it. No drama. All is well. So, same footage, slow motion this time. I go out, I kind of check it. I'm trying to fix the pendulum. Something's messed up. And the wing surges forward. This wing has much longer lines than I'm used to. I'm used to an Octane 2 and an Icaro Zenus. And it twists much more easily than the shorter lines that I'm used to. Now, the lines on my other wings are still longer than average, longer than your Spider, Freeride, etc., but not as long as this. This is kind of my first big boy acro wing, and I think I got a little excited and switched to it a little too soon. If there was a whole... In aviation, there's usually a cascade of mistakes that are made. And if at any point you break the chain of mistakes being made, you're okay. If you just make one good decision, you can get out of that jam. And I think that maybe the first bad decision I made could have been moving helis to the motor a little too quickly. That could be it. It could have been moving to the Sophie, that Air G Sophie, a little too quickly. Maybe that's too advanced a wing for me to get my helis improved on. And then let's talk about the reserve thing. So this isn't me, but this is a pilot who had a very similar experience to what I have, which is his wing wanted to turn and his body didn't keep up with it. Therefore, the risers twisted just like you are on a swing set. That's going to happen in a second here. What's also going to happen is after he's twisted, maybe his brakes are locked. So you see the brakes he's pulling on. Well, once you twist up, they don't slide so nicely anymore. They get locked in whatever position you started with. Now, those brakes that he's pulling on are worthless. You can't pull them anymore. It's too locked in. And he's in a nose-down spiral facing a lot of G's. He throws his reserve, and that reserve, the white and red thing, is stuck in the lines. So he has enough altitude here, altitude's your friend, that he's going to pull it free and try and earn himself a second chance. I won't spoil it for you. I handled it a little differently. I spent a lot of my altitude trying to untwist those lines. I was kicking. I got it from like 7 twists all the way down to the last one. For some reason, I don't fully understand. The last one, I could not get it out. I couldn't get it out. You'd think that when I got from 7 to 1, I was at that easy last swing. Like on a swing set, when you've got 12 twists in it, the last one sort of springs through by itself. But I've never experienced this before. It didn't. The last one was locked in, and I couldn't get it to undo. So I did pull on my risers briefly like he did, but instead of fighting that reserve for a long time, I switched right over to my secondary reserve, threw it, and it worked for me. And in hindsight, that was the best decision I made. Switching to that, just like giving up on reserve number 1, throwing reserve number 2, that turned out to be a winning idea. So I know what most of you are thinking, right? It's going to be some variation of, I should adopt the risk profile that you have. If you don't fly paramotors at all, you're probably thinking that I shouldn't fly because it's too dangerous, it's a mistake, etc., etc. If you do fly paramotors, here's me doing a heli more successfully that time. If you do fly paramotors, You probably think I should fly them like you do, or paragliding, which is, you know, like the way that you're doing it is the right way, and my risk profile is too high, and it's a mistake. I get that. I get that. And I think that you're not 100% wrong, right? Obviously, I was okay with too much risk. I am still processing how much of that risk I have to dial back. Does that mean I go to the wing where you just saw me succeed doing a heli on a paramotor? Does that mean I only do it over water? Does that mean that I never do acro again or never fly again? Which this is 2 weeks ago. I've already flown a bunch of times and done a bunch of helis. But the risk reevaluation needs to happen. Chris Santa Croce, one of the guys who mentors me, sometimes he tells me things and I had to process it later. And he said, the sport deals you corrections. You know, if you get the hint, if you listen and say, hey, that was your warning, then you can avoid a lot of trouble. And how am I going to respond to this? Have I been progressing too quickly? Maybe I progressed wings too quickly. That's maybe where I'm landing on this. I don't know if I'm going to heli over the ground for a long time. I don't know if I'm going to heli on a motor for a long time. I'm still processing how I need to respond to this. And again, I can anticipate your comments. I should adopt your risk profile. And maybe you're right. But there's this like, you only live once. That's wrong. You live every day. You only die once. And the question is, like, how are you going to live that every day? I would feel like something was missing if I didn't have, a little thrill-seeking acrobatics in my life. The thought of just, like, not doing my favorite thing would be a big loss for me. But, I don't want to get hurt either. So those are the forces that I'm trying to balance.